Hello, everyone. Today, I present to you a queen from Texas. Her name is Lia Irvin. She is a broker and a real estate agent. Lia Irvin embodies what a great agent should be. She is sharp, instinctive, caring, and possesses an extraordinary understanding of the real estate business. Lia gained interest in real estate as a young age by watching her mother work in the industry while living in Virginia. With over 14 years of experience as an agent, Lia has dedicated herself to her clients with their needs. She services one end of the spectrum to the other, knowing the ins and outs of the residential real estate marketplace. She's a savvy agent who utilizes traditional marketing with the new and innovative methods to assist her customers as they buy or sell a home. Lia is ready to be your ideal choice for helping with all your real estate and property management needs. Lia's designations are GRI, ABR, MPA, TRLP. She's also been recognized as a NAREP 200 top 250 Latino agent in America. She's part of the President's Council, Century 21 Centurion producer, Rising Professionals Network Century 21 National, and have I mentioned she's a part of the NAREP top 250 top Latino agents? Everyone, please give it up for Lia. Hey, Lia, how are you feeling today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you this morning?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you for asking. Another day in paradise, another day, another dollar for you.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah, Leah. So I see. So you saw your mom living in Virginia. What part of Virginia are you from, and what brought you over to Texas to serve people in real estate?
So this is when I was much younger. My mom was became a realtor. She was a stay-at-home mom for a big portion of our childhood. She got a real estate license, and I kind of just started seeing, her go from one position of being at home all the time to another of, a totally different spectrum of workload, and just watching her change in that industry. And this business does, give flexibility in certain ways. And so I inevitably would go to work with her sometimes. I'd see her office. I saw her move from a boutique brokerage to Century 21 during that time. We were living in Leesburg, Virginia, which is kind of a small town near, Fairfax, Sterling areas. And then ultimately what brought us to Texas was an Air Force base that used to be here in Lubbock, Reese Air Force Base, which has since closed down, but my father was in the military. So that's ultimately why we came here.
Oh, how many times did you relocate as growing up, you think?
Relocated every 2 years until we made it to Lubbock. So this place is like home to me just because it's not where I was born or anything, but the longest I've ever lived anywhere, and ultimately, where I view I grew up at. So
Nice. And who or what inspires and influences you the most in your work these days?
These days I've got, some trusted mentors that I've looked up to for years. I also have some that are no longer with us that I hang on to. Just, the grit and memories I have with them, the advice that I was given. But more than anything these days, it's more just to me about progression in the industry, and just seeing what my next step and my next calling is here. Because I'm a wife and a mom now. And so my family is my why. Anything to see, our ability to be fruitful and grow and healthy stems from careers as well. So that is kind of what I lean to for my purpose now.
Completely understandable. Almost a lot of people, their wives, their family, and you get to see that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work?
I really hope that my brokerage can be a generational business. I would never pressure that on anyone necessarily in my family, but part of my legacy, aside from the things that we all want and yearn for, or hope, would be, that the office could keep going. And so my kids are young now. They've expressed interest in real estate, but, it's still a little premature to take anything like that, seriously, I'd say. But the legacy of having our business and its Condor Property Group continue on, because Condor is more than just a name for me, would be my ideal looked for having a legacy in the real estate industry. And then just kind of knowing that we helped a lot of people get to where they need to be, and procured excellent professional ethical agents.
Makes total sense. Makes total sense. What are your goals for Condor in the next 5 years, or what are your goals in the next 10 years? Do you just want to build up a big team, or do you just want to keep like a boutique shop? And like, who would be your ideal client?
So right now we are very much a boutique brokerage. I did have a real estate team, but when I left my former sponsorship, I just decided, let's just make this an office. I never really wanted a team model to begin with. Looking back 15 years I've been in this business, teams, surfaced in popularity for sure in that last decade. And solo agent was just always more of my calling. But I do seek to mentor people, or aspiring realtors to be good producing knowledgeable agents. So I'm certainly, my goal for the next 5 years would be to move into a non-producing broker position, because I'm very much a producing broker now. Obviously take on some more agents to the office that are full-time, looking for full-time, hungry, ready to go agents that want to learn and make a long-term career in this industry. So the 5-year goal would be to grow some and move out of that producing role more into a true broker mentorship leading role. And then ultimately, I'd say a good 10-year goal for me would be to have to get a bigger building, because I grew this thing to, a substantial size that we no longer fit in our office that we just bought. So those would be my goals.
I hope you manifest, Lee. I really hope you manifest. And so let's say a new agent comes to you right now. We're in July. We're entering August. What's your advice to them to end the year strong? And what's your advice for them to really take off in 2025 as a new agent?
I would say my advice to them was just to kind of let's work the second half of the year on building our sphere, doing the things that, the hardest part about real estate is nobody knows that you do it. And that you're skilled in that industry. So I think that company would support with leads, of course, and stuff like that, to give some work to the agent. However, a lot of it is going to be just getting your name out there, building your sphere, sharing things amongst the office, what worked for who, just true mentorship. And of course, that would be, also taking them to work with myself, shadowing. But I think a lot of shadowing, a lot of inspirational, positive energy, and then just the basics to how we start this business, period, building your sphere of influence and getting people to know what you're doing now out there would be my focus for the remaining half of 2024. And that would lay a foundation to hit 2025, especially with a possible, shift in just the economy and such that we're expecting, but haven't experienced yet, to hopefully pick up business there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, this definitely picking up market shares are very important. How are you positioning yourself? What's happening August 17th, or is that something that you're not really worried about? What's happening?
I'm very concerned about it. And things need to be changed. I think we're now moving into, honestly, a way that I've practiced for years. It's just becoming more official now, in my opinion. We haven't really, I live in Lubbock, Texas, the Service West Texas area. We have a special kind of economy out here. It's very self-sustainable. I feel like a lot of things that hit harder nationwide tend to trickle in late, or, less severe in our area. It's a requirement, no doubt, no matter where you're practicing. I just don't know that we'll see a lot of issues on sellers not wanting to offer buyers agent commission packages or anything like that. I feel like that's not something that we've really seen, in these recent last 2 months coming up. I've seen one in our recent market where, we had a 0% offer to buyers. So these things are going to happen, and agents need to know and be trained more than ever on how to handle those situations, and just kind of know who their fiduciary duty truly is too, and how they can maneuver through those types of scenarios, but having to go to uh, buyer's representation, documentation, and all that from the beginning is how I've practiced my business for over 10 years now. So some of these changes that we have to make, and even down to not having MLS, buyer's agent compensation, or buyer's broker's office compensation listed in MLS. This just means we have to communicate with agents more. And it kind of reminds me of the days on when we didn't have showing time applications and templates and stuff for, apps to facilitate showings easily. We had to communicate with agents. We had to text homeowners. We had to text their clients or call and make appointments. We had to talk to agents more. And so we're going to see that we have to do a little bit more, in regards to that, not necessarily to facilitate showings, obviously, but just it's reminding me of days where, hey, we used to have to talk to listing agents all the time, even before we'd ever go show. So you're just going to have to, start doing that again, on top of making sure that, you have disclosed and generated that relationship with your client. So
Yeah, there's definitely more chance beer around the corner, I would say.
absolutely.
What's the story behind your most memorable success or failure, would you say?
Memorable success or failure. I would say I worked for Century 21 when I first started real estate. And to be frank with you, it was a rough market when I got into real estate. We were still very much in, the housing tech bubble, suppressed real estate market. There were no buyers. Rates weren't high or anything, but it was just the abundance of foreclosures and coming off of that economical impact. So it was in 2010. So not the greatest time to be getting into real estate and looking back, but I just had a really rough first year. I mean, I came out the gates with great listings. If I had those listings today, I mean, it would have been like, wow, what a string of luck to start with. But it was just different back then. But I had some great listings. Was working, the best I could. Kind of thrown to the wolves in many aspects in real estate, but just trying to figure out, how this business works and how to do the best I could do in that capacity and with the clients I had. But I mean, not one listing took less than a year to get a contract on. I mean, I was sitting with extensions. I was paying into this business before ever even having the possibility of a commission check, of a paycheck coming my way. And so I almost quit. I wanted to throw in the towel multiple times. And I just kind of got to a breaking point, and hit a little bit of a I went to a course that was being held by an awesome trainer who was with Century 21 out of New Jersey at the time. And the woman who, led that course, she just breathed new life right into me, made me believe that don't give up, I can do this. And then I'd say after I did, after the following year from starting, I got an offer in on a listing that I'd had sitting, almost 10 months at that point. And once that deal closed, it really was like everything started to snowball for me. And so I would say that would be kind of like I was facing a failure, but made a success out of it. Just because looking back, if I would have quit, I don't know where I would be today, if I'd truly be happy within my career, or if I'd even live here still, or what would have happened. But I've loved selling real estate for the last 14 years. I am 100% a believer in the investment of real estate. I'm an investor myself, and just being in this industry has opened up so much opportunity for me that it's just like, even if I don't have a year that it's as good as the last, there are so many, many successes that I usually find within each working year for myself, just because, hey, maybe I didn't sell as much as I did the year before because I had an awesome, year production wise, but I bought 7 properties. So it's all just, you know, it's just about balance for me now, and having a good time, and just progressing from what hitting personal goals, and progressing forward from what I was doing before. But to think back and realize that, man, I really almost quit this, like just, gave up. I'm glad that I kept going. I'm glad I had some, support in different ways, whether it's an instructor for a class or, my mother telling me don't give up, or a great broker, whatever it may be. Just having the support system in place that, I turned what was looking to be another, like, just ultimate failure on, hey, this career isn't working out, into, the best thing I've ever been doing and enjoyed for the longest amount of time in my life. So.
Nice. Would you say that was the turning point in your career journey, or do you think there's another moment in time where you're like, wow, your eyes just open up, like, wow, this is where this is me, and this is what I want to, this is what I'm passionate about?
I do recall a turning point again for me. I mean, that was obviously a huge shift as just a fresh agent that was like, many other agents, hey, I'm not feeling this like it's for me. And so overcoming that hump was more of like, I wouldn't say a turning point, but just like a show that I do encompass grit and can do these things. I do recall, like, back when I was expecting my first daughter, um, I really was so scared about having a child and how that was going to change for me. I had such a heavy work demand. I mean, I'd be often at the office. I'd be the agent you'd catch at the office, like driving by at 9 o'clock. Why is Leah still there? I was just working, working, working. And so I remember becoming really fearful inside about what, I never had a kid before. I didn't grow up around young children even then. I mean, I was like total, new to a life with caring for another person. And so I remember just thinking, I better hustle it up this year, while I was, pregnant with her, expecting, um, so that next year, no matter what happens, I'm good. Like, and I remember that was my best year in production I had had up to that point, and I'd been a realtor for 5 years at this time. I had my best year ever. I just, and it never stopped. It was just like, hey, life didn't like become harder. It just changed a little. And this is like really in a good way. And I could manage this. And wow, I just had my best year in real estate. And when you have a good year, it's all about the sphere and business by referral. I mean, business is just growing, so more is going to come. And so that was a good turning point for me, where I realized, okay, I can be a top, 15% agent in this town year after year after year. And nothing, really can stop that if your mindset is ready for it. And so I just remember getting a spark of, just new motivation and, just notching it up when some people may notch back during that time. And then, it's kind of like the rest is history. It's always been, a pretty stable, year after year for me and such. But, little things change here and there. But that would be definitely a moment. And I'd say I had another turning point moment when I lost my first broker, who was like a grandpa to me. He was a man that I looked up to so much, respected by many, and including myself, obviously, in this industry. I mean, he was Texas Realtor president. I mean, just a phenomenal person, agent, broker, all the things that he did through his life, a hard worker. And I know I felt a turning point whenever he passed away, just because a big part of why I was at the office I was at was missing. And so there was some, obviously some period of grief, but we had some brokerage changes after that. And I had to then start focusing on, well, where does my future go? What would John do? John was feeling, John Welton was my broker. John was, in my shoes at one point in his career. So when did he decide, okay, I'm going to take this and, do it for myself and build something on my own here. And so that was also a turning point whenever he passed away, that I started actually thinking more like, I want to progress. I want to be a broker, or I want to go, into other forms of leadership in this industry. rather than just the focus. I think prior to that was, I want to hustle and be a good realtor, provide a great service, but I want my production to be there, and I want to do better than I did last year. It kind of just shifted gears for me on. I thought I started thinking about leadership rather than production only after that.
Now, thank you for sharing that, Leah. I'm glad you have your systems and structures in place where it's just long nights and short years for you. But
Right.
what do you think is the key to maintaining your work-life balance, and how do you apply it in your life with like your personal production, running your own team, and then your family and love life?
I really think that a lot of having success in this career is just as simple as answer your phone and treat people the way you want to be treated. And so I really, I really try to do that. It's about not forgetting, having structure, just, making sure that you get back to everyone who's trying to reach you. I think a lot of the times people get overloaded with work and stress in this industry, and none of us are perfect, and nor am I on this even to this day, but we start becoming overwhelmed and missing very important things. And some people become overwhelmed and miss out on family life, and others miss out on business opportunities or other things that were great opportunities that were just stemmed from being overloaded. And so I just try to really make the evenings when I'm at home, just exclusively for my family. I mean, things happen, of course. I've taken a call here and there late, but there were many times where I started noticing I'm not as present at home as I should be, because I'm still working. Even though I worked all day, I come home, I briefly eat and go back into my office at home and work. And so I've really worked on the last, I'd say 8 years solid on just being more, involved at home, and turning work off at a certain point. But that also allows you to become more diligent in what you're doing during the day and staying ahead of, ahead of the ball, so to speak. Just making sure I've just become more organized from realizing, okay, if I can't work all day and night, so I've got to, start spending my time wisely, and, especially during the day when it is office hours, so that I can be just set up for success the next day. But ultimately in this business, I mean, it's sales at the end of the day. I'm selling an investment that I know works and I believe in. I know a lot about, property, and not just acquisitions, but, managing them and owning them and all that. So it's just, I have the knowledge to do well and guide people in this industry. I just need to make sure that I'm available. And ultimately, I just always tell the agents that I'm training, hey, pick up the phone and just talk to people the way you want to be talked to. And you'll see that everything starts to snowball from there. Because when you render a good service and build that relationship, they tell others. And so I have never worked any way whatsoever in 14 years except for business by referral. I have not spent thousands of dollars on, leads. I have never called in my life. I have never called on a FISBO, and I don't call on expired listings. So a lot of the ways that people get trained to generate business, which are not bad ways at all. They're just not ways that I found worked the most fruitfully for me. And so, if you want to build business by referral, you want to grow that sphere, answer the communication attempts with you and treat people the way you want to be treated.
Makes total sense. Yeah, I'm glad you doubled down on your strengths. I have a quick question for you. How do you explain to a client eloquently that their wage growth is 3 to 4%? Their wages or their whatever their income, it only goes up 3 to 4% a year. The home that they like, it actually goes up 5 to 6. So them staying on the fence, waiting for interest rates to drop, is actually not a good idea, because if rates drop, the home value goes up. And then if rates just drop 1%, 4 million buyers come in, and that's just going to push the home price even higher. How do you explain to a buyer, actually right now is the moment to buy and actually get some seller credits, and instead of waiting for the rates to drop?
Well, because I've worked in many different markets, I mean, I have just, coming in after the foreclosure housing tech bubble surge, into working through the recovery of an industry like that. And then, the craziness post-COVID 2021. Now this market is very much fluctuated back to a market that I was very familiar with years ago. And so I use my own investment and history of investing and owning real estate as a testimony for lots of clients, just to show that, I am a 39-year-old woman, and my first house was purchased 20 years ago when I was 19. And so if you look at 2 decades worth of a market that's unpredictable, this is what what trends. And so I testify with my own experience as a consumer in real estate, which I find resonates a lot with my clients, because, hey, I'm not talking to you as an agent in that standpoint. Sure, I represent you and stuff, but I'm talking to you as I'm in your shoes years ago. And so, and then just laying in the economic principles of, it's always going to cost more tomorrow than it did today. And then I just go in to explain that, we've been promised rate cuts, or, not promised, but maybe per se, but it has been speculated that we would endure rate cuts multiple times already up to this point, and we really haven't been on schedule with what many economists and people have forecasted. And so it's, again, a market, and it's unpredictable. But what we do know is going to continue to occur is appreciation in homes. So I've even had to, bust out net sheets for them before to show, if you wait for this rate, let's just say 5% is your sweet spot, and you buy next year, this is what you're going to be looking at. And then we'll look at, okay, but the house is going to cost 20 to 30,000 more possibly next year. This is what you're going to, I boil it down math wise for what they would have saved waiting on a rate versus what they paid extra for the house. And when you do that, it's, there's no question about it. And people have their own sayings, like you're dating the rate, but you're marrying the house, all the things that you want to say. All different things come out depending on who I'm speaking with. But I had this conversation with a buyer last night that I was showing. He's a little hesitant. He wants to wait for rates to go down, and he thinks that the prices will actually fall. And so we had a good discussion on why historically it shows that prices really won't be going down. And discussed refinancing and all those things with them. And so actually this morning we wrote an offer. So you never know, but I have to always bring myself, this is a young man that I was showing last night and his fiance, and I have to bring myself down to, where was I thinking? What was I scared of when I was their age? And so we talked about how it's human nature to not want to, lose your little nest egg that you have saved up. But I explained to them how every time I've ever done this, it's come back times 3. And then I give sometimes scenarios too of past clients that I've worked with that didn't live in their house long, but walked away with, 30,000 at closing and we talked about what you walk away with from rentals, which is essentially nothing. And so those are just conversations I have, and I have to gauge it by the client I'm working with. But just a combination of personal history in real estate, testimonies, past client examples, and then just, market education on how this market works and the economy in general. So that's what I do because that's obviously a common question we've all had to counteract this past probably 2 years. I'm sure every agent's had to answer that question. Should I wait for rates to go down? So.
No, very true, Leah. I'm glad you're pragmatic and you actually cater to your audience. You actually like cater to the user experience of who you're speaking to. Switching gears a little bit, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Any historical figure? Well, I've always been intrigued with Mother Teresa. She just seemed like someone that would just, be just outstanding to just be, and some like just the kindness, the spirit of that woman would be interesting to have, a sit down or a meal with her. I would say if I had to pick someone from, nowadays that I wouldn't mind picking their brain or sitting down with, I would love to have a meal with Candace Owens. I think that that woman is sharp, intelligent, she's very well spoken, and not that I necessarily agree with everything she says. I've just been following her for years and years, and I've just always been very impressed with the adversity she's overcome, and just her overall intelligence. Just an astounding woman from the outside looking in. That would be someone I definitely would want to sit down and have dinner with.
Woman power, right? Woman empowering and woman
Yes.
empowering woman. I love it.
I mean, the list could go on, but yeah.
No,
Yep.
no worries at all. Yeah, no worries at all. Thank you for sharing those two people. Those are two people on different spectrums, but you could learn from both of them. How do you handle criticism or negative feedback about your work if it's even never occurred?
I think I just tried to negative criticism or feedback. I don't know that I really can. I don't deal with that often. I will say that. I'm trying to figure out the last time it's been a minute, but you know, I think the answer to that is, everybody's not for everybody. I have in 15 years, I've had to, essentially fire one client, and I'm sure they were ready to fire me, and it was fine. That conversation alone just boiled down to, I just don't think our personalities are best for one another. But I just try to let it not get to me, because there's a lot of emotional pull strings in this business, and that's why I tell new agents, because when I see them going through, just the emotions that you're going to feel when certain things happen, my skin, I felt all those things, and my skin has gotten tougher from it. And so I've worked very hard for respect from other agents in my industry, especially like when I bring you a contract and my name's on it, I want you to be relieved. Oh, Leah's bringing me this offer. This deal is going to go fair, as smoothly as it can. Like, those types of things. I've just worked hard to, when I bring you in a contract with my name on it, that deal is probably going to close. And I haven't really experienced a lot of, negative criticism or anything from peers. And maybe I have some and just I'm not aware of it. But I think it's more about, hey, I've got to realize I had to realize a long time ago, not everyone wants to work with me. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Not everyone is mine. But there's plenty of fish out there in this pond, and it's not something I'm going to let, break me down or slow me down or, cause a lack of motivation. It's nothing I'm going to dwell on. So I just kind of, just say, hey, maybe that was a blessing in disguise that didn't work out, and on to the next. Because if I worry about it for too many days, it's going to manifest, and it's not going to bring positive energy to whatever it is I'm focused on at the time. So I just try to move on.
No, as you should be, Lee, as you should be. I don't know if you know the law of numbers, but they say 25% of the people are going to love you no matter what you do or say. 25% of the people aren't going to like you no matter, even if you have like the best pitch or the most perfect experience for them. But there's the other 50%. That's up to you to influence and persuade. But yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
I
did not know those numbers. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no worries at all. No worries at all. What's the most courageous decision you've made recently, and how did it impact you?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
Oh yeah, what's the most courageous decision you've made recently, and how did it impact you?
Well, I'd say the most courageous decision I made was back in May, and that's when I decided to buy my own office and just do this all the way. So I purchased a new building, and I underwent some renovations. I've been saving, and I knew a good deal came across my lap, basically just landed right in my lap. And so I went for it, but there was a lot of fear in that? Am I going to make this work? Am I just going to slave away to pay the bills here? All the things that you think. And so, but we're, hitting the ground running and everything's going well thus far. But that'd probably be, yeah, for sure. Just a recent, what I would deem courageous. And hey, I needed to put a lot of thought into that before I did it, because I was very happy with what I had going on at my previous office. So this was more about progression as an individual in this business. But yeah, I went all in and, bought an entire building, and I'm up and running now. I mean, everything, it's been adding up, but it'll be all right. And I'm excited. Like, we're all excited, and my agents are excited. So I love that. We've got a good workspace now. We've got, some good systems in place. And I look forward to kind of doing what we were talking about earlier, making sure all those kinks are worked out this next half of the year. So we're hitting the ground, running and ready, hungry for business in 2025.
No, totally. I'm sure you're going to build your company culture and lead your team to victory. But besides what's happening in August, is there anything next and like a big thing that people should expect in your area or just in real estate in general? And how are you contributing to it?
I've always thought that we would probably start to expect to see more discount brokerages surface. I've seen that business concept rise and fall here and there over all the years, but I was really thinking that we might start to see that a little bit more, which always kind of makes things harder for traditional offices. But again, it's just the same thing that we've said, even in regards to the NAR settlement. You just have to show and be, and educate and be truly convicted on your worth here. But that would be something that I think might start happening. And then, technology is always interesting. And I'm not the greatest in that area. So, I mean, just with AI and everything, and just all the different types of changes that different offices are doing, I feel like you're almost forced to kind of innovate, or you get left behind. So I think there's we're always innovating technology wise, but there could be some crazy technology things around the corner. And then just commission models and things are going to be a little bit different. I've always thought to myself, I wonder if, what we're just going to start to see as a whole is that these are going to be driven down. And I trust in this economy where I work and live, and I know that traditional offices are kind of more prevalent in our area. Another thing that I've seen happening where we practice is there is a ton of out of town brokerages joining our MLS. We've got people that are on our board from San Antonio, which is 6 hours away, Houston, which is 10 hours away. And so it just seems like we've also seen a spurt in out of market, what we would call out of market offices coming in to our area, which is interesting to me.
No, it is. Now, thank you for sharing the discount program. Yeah, you are right. Traditional brokers have to give their value proposition, and hopefully those consumer can perceive it as what it should be. And then if you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be and why?
If I had to be honest, what I would love to change about the industry, and this is not meant, to upset anybody that's not full time, is, I would want to see the industry shift to more full time licensees. We have there's a lot of, you have a lot of options out there as the consumer, and that's great. This is, the MLS is a true free market. One of the only left in this day and age. But if I had to kind of hope for one thing personally, just because I'm involved with our local board and stuff a lot, is I would love to see a lot more people selling real estate that are licensed, truly selling it full time. So that'd be something that I would change.
No, yeah, you're not the first person to tell me that. We're the last person to tell me that, to be honest with you.
Like, I do not want to offend any part-timers. There is definitely, I mean, if you go and get licensed, you did what you have to do. But I think it can be, just an internal wish for someone who does this full time, and we just wish that others were more vested than they are. So.
No, I totally get it, Lee. I totally get it. What's the biggest misconception or misunderstood thing about you, your work, or your industry, would you say, in today's world?
I think that a lot of people think that our work is much easier than what it really is. It's more than just arriving to the house, sticking a sign in the ground, and putting a key box on, and just crossing your fingers. I mean, there's a lot of stress that comes along, and pressure. And so I think that lots of times people, think as real estate agents, as just, that we're maybe paid too much for the amount of work that we have to do. And they just don't know all of the back end to it. I mean, they don't know the liability, anything about liability. They don't even know what our offices cover for them liability wise. And also just working in this industry and how difficult it is to get up and running, and sustain. It's just, it blows my mind when people try to downplay what we actually do service wise. And that goes hand in hand, right, with what we've been facing with defending what you charge to clients, showing your value. So, but that's definitely a big thing that I've had to do every year. I mean, every year for 14 years, I have had to defend this occupation that I love so much, and know that I work my tail off in, and exactly what we do, to someone out there, whether that's just a friend in passing or, a client. It's just it's like a constant thing of having to, it can get exhausting having to defend what you do, and your role in this profession all the time.
No,
So, but
I'm,
that would
I'm
be definitely one.
no, I'm sure you have the stamina to withstand it, and I'm sure you have thick skin and a strong gut. And if you have you ever like driven in your car, like ever like sat at home like watching TV on a couch, like maybe if I was in real estate, like what would you be doing if you weren't in real estate? Have you ever pondered that?
Yes. Um, I am very into like holistic health. As I'm an aging woman, like I am into, truly healthy, like, just aesthetics. I just true like care of your skin in the healthy ways, like those types of things. I don't want to call it like, I'd love to be running a med spa or something, but I would definitely, I mean, in my free time, that is like one of my, favorite things to do. I like to go and learn up at my clinic about, new things, or try different treatments. But I go to cooking classes. Like I like to do things that, are more like foundation for wellness type things. And so I always thought to myself, if I get out of real estate, I want to go do something in that industry. I don't know what, but yeah, I mean, it's almost like even if I found downtime, I'd probably go take like a laser class or like, you know, something crazy. It's just like something that's always in the back of my head that like, oh, I wish I would have just done that on the side, even if it was as simple as going to esthetician school in my 20s, it just, those types of thoughts kind of, ponder in my head sometimes, like that would be just a fun business to run, and that we would help people. So it's funny you asked that. Like I've thought about that a lot in the last 5
Not
years. So
you're right. Health and wellness can be more valuable than wealth, actually. For some, because I don't know if you've ever been to like a hospital bill is not cheap at all, so it's better to be healthy than end up there. What's your favorite book, podcast, or article that's had a significant impact on your life or work?
Tools of Titans was a book that I read in my 20s, and it's a very big book, but there's a lot of just really, I don't know, just a lot of inspirational, motivating, grit building content in that book. That's just one that I've always been, re-referenced in my mind and been happy that I got dived into years ago. Anything from Brene Brown is good too. I have many of her books that I've read and reread. But I seek for nonfiction reading, self-help type things, business books, those types of. That I don't read anything fiction. So there's a handful of great ones out there. But I would say Tools of Titans was one I found really interesting, because sometimes it's hard for me to sit down and get in, and stay in with a good book. So that was kind of one that I liked, because you could just pick it up. It's almost like short stories. So, but just in one massive book. And there's a lot of great people, successful people that have their writings in there. So.
Now, I'm glad you picked up on your self-awareness, where like it has to be engaging almost, and I'm sure you apply it to your life too. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in your career so far?
The biggest lesson I've learned is not honestly, like I've learned that this is more of a career where I get to actually help people. And I think that's why I have a soft spot for the first time home buyer. It's everyone has their niche that they try to reach out to, whether it's luxury or REO or whatever. But I just really enjoy the first time home buyer stuff, because it gives me, it just teaches me that we were all there once, and just the feeling I get, it just makes me feel like I'm doing something that's impactful, because we can pump contracts out and, facilitate transactions all day long. But it's when I genuinely do something that, like, I made my client cry, man, they're so thankful. Like, I can see that I actually made an impact on that person's life, and in such a probably stressful time for them. So I think that's just humbled me a lot. And so that's one of the main things that I love and about this career, and what teaches me, brings me back down, sometimes to earth and all that. It's not really about the size of the deal or anything for me. It's more about truly serving someone beyond representation. I mean, truly serving a family, or a single mom, or whoever it may be. I really get a lot of joy from my job when I interact with clients like that. I mean, I have gone out to a house and left everything. Like, I had clients moving here. They had a terrible experience on their sale where they were moving from. They were coming up here. The weather was kicking in really bad. We get crazy sandstorms here, like biblical sandstorms. And so I was like, they're going to get to town. It's going to be late. They're not going to have anything in that house, because they bought a brand new build, nothing, not even a thing of toilet paper. And so I just went to the store, gathered all essential needs to get through a day in a house where you can't leave because the weather's so bad. And so that they could just get there. And, as a mom, I would just imagine getting there and we don't even have a paper plate. We don't even have a paper towel or nothing. I mean, so I just remember going and actually kind of out late at night. And my husband's like, what are we doing? And I'm like, we're getting a starter package done for my clients. And he's like, it's about to storm bad. And I was like, yeah, we got to hurry. So we're getting everything, rush it out there to actually a town that's about 20-minute drive from our house. And I mean, the next day, the husband texted me and he was like, well, you made my wife cry. She was so just touched by the fact that you even thought to do that. And it made me cry, because I'm like, people don't think about that enough for others. That's what I call serving. That's true service. I mean, you can call it customer service, whatever you want, but I take it to that level. Man, and I remember telling my husband, hey, we did good last night. Thank you. Because he doesn't sell real estate. He was thinking, why are we doing this? I'm like, this is why. You'll know tomorrow why. So.
Wow, you really go above and beyond. You went the extra mile. I'm sure people remember the way that resonates with people. I'm sure you're gonna get referrals, like you said. I'm sure that's part of your secret sauce, just going that extra mile for your clients. What's the most challenging aspect of being in your role in today's world, would you say?
Most challenging aspect of what?
Being in your role as a broker now?
Um, well, it's definitely more challenging because I'm in a full leadership position. And so, it's kind of like when you become a parent, you have to remember you represent these little humans, and everything you do is a direct effect that trickles down to perception. And I, it, I'm actually very excited about this new role. I am so humbled by the fact that I have agents that believe in me as their leader. Um, and I'm glad that I've worked so hard all these years to be able to transform myself into someone that's like, I've always told people, how can you be a sales agent or a broker and teach people how to sell real estate if you've never sold real estate? I have been attempted to have been recruited from other offices. And I'm like looking at the person who's trying to recruit me, and I'm like, you've never sold any real estate. How are you going to show me how to sell real estate? And so I think that just all the years of learning how to sell real estate, um, possibly make me, a credible source of leadership here. And I mean, I'm ready to take on the challenge. I'm very fresh into this. But you're kind of just in a leadership role. And so you have to be ready to handle anything that any of your agents throw their way, whether it's a transactional thing or they're just having a bad day. You have to be that person that, brings them back down to earth and keeps them level headed, or, remotivates them. And so it's very much like it's true mentorship. It's not just like, hey, I pay for all these things every month so that you guys can use them, and here's some leads. And by the way, we have a copier here in a brick and mortar. It's a very, like we said earlier, emotional business. And so to me, it's going to be about making everybody, like, work culture, blend well, ensuring everybody's comfortable and happy at the office. And then on top of that, the normal things that every broker has to do.
No, you're totally right, though. This truly is an emotional business that we're in. If there's one piece of advice you wish you had received earlier in your career that could have changed your whole trajectory, it could have been a catalyst, what would it be, and what would you tell your younger self?
If I was, what I would have appreciated earlier in my career was someone who really pushed me to look at what my worth was. I just, I was a producing agent, top agent at our office, but when I look at what I was doing progression wise, what I was standing for me, often I was a little stagnant in that area. And so, it wasn't until certain people came into my life that they started making me realize, you're worth more than what this office is doing for you, right? What does your office do for you? And so I don't know. I think I would have appreciated a better understanding of brokerage culture and what my office does for me and what my worth was earlier in my career, because I mean, I just was, pumping along like, okay, I'm going to do this year. This is my production goal. And it's good to have goals and stuff, but I was losing a sense of what I really meant to that office. And so, I just would have liked that earlier, because I think I could have progressed further and gotten things done faster than what I did.
No, it makes total sense. Thank you for sharing that. And before I let you go, I'm gonna rewatch this when I'm like 80 years old, like really, really old. Like, what's piece of advice you want to leave with me? Would you say a life advice?
Well, I don't know if I don't know your familial structure or anything, but just life advice from me to you. And I still need so much advice from others in life, right? But I think that no matter what, just family is just the most important thing. And I feel like in my business, it's just sales, 100% commission. I feel like I've allowed sometimes my business to take over certain areas that I care the most about. But just, my dad passed away a year and a half ago, and I really started looking at things differently. Um, it was just a terrible, the worst experience I've ever gone through. And after, the stages of grief settled through, I really started to look at things just differently. My own family, what I provide here, where is my presence at? And then just genuinely wanting to be nicer to others. Like, I feel like I've changed a lot since then. I feel like I'm a nicer person, and I wasn't rude before necessarily, but I'm very straightforward and direct. But just wanting to have more kindness coming from my heart, and then spending time with those who matter most, close friends, family, whoever that might be for anybody. And then just always just being thoughtful. I feel like being thoughtful for others can just, turn your world around. And I just feel like when you start to do those things, everything turns around for you. And so I would just say, don't take for, use the time you have wisely. I mean, if you're 80 listening to this, you would have already learned all this, but, I mean, tomorrow's never promised. And I feel like it really hit home for me when my dad, he was battling cancer, but I mean, he was very active and healthy, and it took a turn in 2 weeks. And so that really made me think, "Hey, if I can lose my dad in 2.5 weeks, and it comes so rapidly, I've really got to start living different, and just kind of, re, re reallocating happiness in different areas." So, but that's the reason I'm also into wellness now, because I mean, I've just researched and learned so much. And I mean, I have visited with a lot of now new friends and stuff from just going through this, and wanting to be just preventative in anything. I don't know. I mean, but you would be surprised. I mean, I just went to get a vitamin shot the other day and found out the nurse that I've been using for years, her husband died in February. She's younger than me. She's probably 32. He was 40. So, I mean, you just never know when you're going to interact with someone that's going through something. So I just think, just be kind and thoughtful, and everything else will always fall into place. But I look back, and there's been times where I'm like, I wasn't the nicest in that situation. I really regret that. So I've just tried to change things differently in the way I look at life.
My condolences on your father. What you shared with me was very touching. I hope you continue to give your Midas human touch to all your clients that you come across. Do you have any last final words, thoughts, or comments that you want to leave with your listeners, the listeners listening to you?
No, I think just never give up. Stay with your image, with your vision and your mission, no matter what happens. The I have an office. It's called Condor Property Group. I just, that was something huge for me, and it was something I didn't think I would do, especially after losing someone as important as my father in my life. But I want to continue to soar, with a huge wingspan, gracefully in the sky, strong like a condor. And so that is my why and my vision now. And I know that those who are not with me are proud of it. And so just never give up on whatever you had stirring up here. We've all got something that we're cooking up in our minds. And I think that fear and other factors hold us back from turning those visions into reality. And just even when I thought, what, this is not a good time, or this is not going to happen, or I can't afford it, those were all thoughts that went through my head. I just never give up, because where there's a will, there is a way. And if you're cooking it up, someone else is probably doing that too. So might as well keep moving forward and be the first to the punch. But just never give up on yourself. Because I mean, if you think you can do it, you can do it. But that would be my I guess final words for anybody.
You were sharing, yeah, and anything is possible. You can manifest any vision that you set yourself up for. How do people get in contact with you? Can you share your number and email, please?
Yes. Again, my name's Lia Irvin. I'm broker, owner at Condor Property Group here in Lubbock, Texas. My number is 806-831-6279. And my email is Lia, Lia, Irvin, IRV as in Victor, IN as in Nancy, at condor.homes. And our website is condor.homes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from a queen from Texas. Lia, it was a pleasure and honor to talk to you and hear for your story. I wish you all the best. Ladies and gentlemen, Google her company in 5-10 years. I'm sure she's gonna be a rock star.
Thank you. Yep, and I have to say before we get off the call, because I am I bleed black and red, so Reckham Tech.
All right, yeah, rock on.
It's almost football season, and we are ready down here.
Love it. I love it. Thank you for your
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.